Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be making the 1990 version of Pennywise. He is what I consider a no-sew body pattern, which means we are going to start by making the arms, and then we're going to move on down to the legs, work our way up. We'll join the legs together, then we'll move on to the body, add the arms as we go, work on the head, add the eyes, stuff, and clothes. And then we will have to embroider on the face, tack on the ears, and then make all the little extra pieces like the ruffle, the vest, and the little pom-poms. For this video, I will be using a number 4 medium weight yarn, a 4.25 millimeter hook, and 14 millimeter safety eyes. This is a crochet along, so I will be doing every stitch with you, and I am also providing a drop down at the top of the screen with the pattern instructions for the first 30 seconds of every row for you to follow along with. And if you enjoy this video, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only does that help me out, but you'll also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. Okay, I think that's everything. So grab your yarn and let's get started. All right, we are going to begin with the hand, and you can start your rounds any way you prefer as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'm going to be making a knot with a loop on the end. So I'm just going to fold my yarn over in half. I'm going to pinch it up at the top, bring that loop around my finger, down, around, and through to make my knot. Then I'm going to pinch that loop, and I'm just going to slide this knot up so that my loop is just a little bit bigger than my hook. Insert your hook, grab your yarn, pull up, and chain 1. And remember, that does not count as a stitch. That just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, we are going to do 6 single crochets into the loop over top of the tail. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then pull on that tail if you need to close up that hole. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one, and for row 2 we are going to do 6 increases, so that's 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around for a total of 12. So increase 1 and 2 in the same stitch, increase 3 and 4 in the same stitch, increase 5 and 6, increase 7 and 8, increase 9 and 10, and our last increase 11 and 12. Row 3, we are going to do 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 4, we are going to do 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 5, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 decrease, repeat that around for a total of 8. So 1 single crochet for 1, 1 decrease for 2, single crochet for 3, decrease for 4, 5, decrease for 6, 7, and our last decrease for 8. Row 6, we are going to do 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then on our 8th one we are going to change colors, so we're going to go into that next stitch, grab our yarn, pull up, leaving those 2 loops on the hook. We can cut our hand color now if we want to. And now you're going to grab your first stripe color. So I'm going to start with purple. So all we're going to do is tie our new color to our old color, nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it, 2 or 3 times. And then if you can, tuck those ends in so they're out of your way. Then you're going to pick up your new color and you're going to pull it through those last 2 loops of your last row to finish off that 8th stitch. All right, I'm going to call this row 7, even though it isn't really a row, we're going to be chaining. So for row 7, we're going to start with a slip stitch in the next stitch. And actually, once you have that in there, we don't need this stitch marker anymore either. Get that out of our way. Okay, so we have our slip stitch, and now we are going to chain 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, I'm just going to show you where to put your next stitch in. So we're going to be going in the second chain from the hook. So this loop on your hook does not count. This will be your first chain, and then this will be your second chain. So we're just going to go in there, and I grab the top loop. You do it however you go into chains. So starting in that second chain from your hook, we are going to do 8 single crochets down the chain, and make sure it doesn't twist. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then on our 8th one we're going to change colors. So we're just going to go into that last stitch, grab our yarn, pull up, and leave those 2 loops on the hook. Now don't cut this color now, because we're just going to be switching back and forth. And just like before, we're just going to tie our old color and our new color together nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it. Two or three times. And if you can, try and tuck that little green end in so it's out of your way. Then you're going to pull that new color through those last two loops of your last stitch of the previous row. Give it a pull. That'll help keep everything nice and tight down there. And then we're going to slip stitch into that next stitch. And now we're going to turn our work so we're on the back side of our arm. And then we're going to be going into this very first stitch right here where that hole is. So if you're not sure, if you turn it this way, you can kind of see there'll be a V right there. You want to be going underneath that V. And we're going to do 8 single crochets across. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then make sure you get in that last one and underneath both the stitches of the V for 8. Now we're going to turn to the right side, and starting again in that first hole right there, we're going to do 8 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we're going to change color on our 8th one, so we're going to go into that stitch, pull up, leave those 2 loops on the hook, and now we're just going to grab our next color, so we should be on purple. Make sure to keep that other color nice and tight, then pull it through, and then again tighten up all those ends. Alright, and now for the next row we are going to slip stitch into that next stitch. We're going to turn our work to the wrong side, and we're going to do 8 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we're going to turn to the right side, and we're going to do our 8 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and on our 8th one, change color, so go in, grab your yarn, pull up, drop the color you were using, grab your other color, and then go through those 2 loops to finish off that stitch. Tighten them up if you need to. And again, slip stitch into the next stitch, and then turn to the wrong side. 8 single crochet across the top here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And again, make sure you get under both of these in the stitch. Sometimes it's tricky. So I'm only under one there. I gotta get under both. And 8. Now you're going to turn to the right side and do your 8 single crochets down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we're going to change color on our 8th one. So in, grab your yarn, pull up, drop that color you're just using, grab your other color, and pull it through to finish off that stitch. Tighten your strings if you need to. Now we're going to slip stitch in the next stitch. Turn our work so we're on the wrong side and do our 8 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Turn our work to the right side, 8 single crochets across. Oops, see how that's loose right there? If you get that, I'm just going to give mine a pull so it's not loose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, and again change our color on the 8th stitch, go in, pull up, leave those 2 loops on, drop your old color, grab your new color, and pull that through. Tighten up your string if you need to. And then our next row, slip stitch into the next stitch, turn to the wrong side, and now we're going to do our 8 single crochets across. 1, whoop, another one go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and maybe 8. There we go. Nope, just 1. Get under both. 8. Turn to the right side and do your 8 single crochets across. Pull up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then into the 8th one we're going to change color, so go in, grab your yarn, pull up, leave those 2 loops, drop your yarn, grab your other yarn, pull that through, and then tighten up your stitches if you need to. We should be getting close to the end here. Into the next stitch you're going to slip stitch, turn to the wrong side and do your 8 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Turn your work to the right side, 8 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we're going to change color on that 8th one. So go in, pull up, leave those 2 loops, drop your old color, grab your other color, and pull through those 2 loops. Tighten everything up, and then you're going to slip stitch into the next stitch. turn to the wrong side and do your 8 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Turn to the right side and 8 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then again on our 8th one we're going to change color, so go in, pull those loops up and leave those 2 loops on the hook, and we're done with the green now, so we're going to cut off our green, leave enough for tying, and you're going to tie that nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it. So you're tying your purple and your green together. And then you're just going to pull through those 2 loops to finish off that last stitch. Alright, so now you should have 8 stripes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And just to secure this one last stitch before we close, I'm just going to slip stitch into the next stitch, so it'll be the first stitch that we slip stitched into when we started our stripes, just so there's not a hole right there. And now you're going to fold that arm down over the hand so you're looking at the back side, and we are going to slip stitch through both layers to close up the arm. So the first stitch is the hardest. You want to make sure you're in that very first stitch on the front and that very first stitch in the back. And then we're just going to do 8 slip stitches across. Line them up as best you can. Try and get them even, but if you don't, I don't think you'll really notice. You can fix it at the end. So that's 1 slip stitch, 2 slip stitch, 3 slip stitch. Make sure you're going under both sides. I forgot my number. Is that 4 slip stitches, 5 slip stitches, 6 slip stitches, 7, and then 8 in the end. I do want to make sure I'm through both sides of that V on these ones because we don't want a hole up at the top, and that's 8. So it should look like this right now. Now you can flip it the right way. I'm just sticking my finger into the hand and then rolling it up my finger. All right, let's grab ourselves a little bit of stuffing now. And what we want to do is have the hand on the firmer side. So I'm just getting up in there little bits at a time because I don't want to stretch my stitches. And then once you feel like you have kind of a firm little area there, kind of in a ball shape, you're just going to lightly stuff the arm. So it's pretty squishy. You don't want his arms. His arms already are going to stick out pretty good because of all the stuff we're adding around the neck. I'm just going to, yeah, that seems about right. All right, so once you have it stuffed, You're going to do 3 decreases across the top. And this is not going to look pretty, so don't worry if it's a little off. It's going to be under so much stuff you're not going to see it. So we're just going to try and go into the next stitch on the front and the back. You should be going in purple and green each time opposite ways, but if you're not, it doesn't matter. So 1 decrease. Then we're going to do 2 decreases. Just evenly across, however you can get them to fit. And 3 decreases. And there we go. Then you're just going to tie that off. Leave yourself a little bit of a tail, because even though we're not sewing these on, I do something with them at the end to help keep them secure. All right, so if you've just finished your first arm, I will be putting a screenshot over in the next frame with a timestamp so you can go back and do your second arm. And if you're done your second arm, just keep on watching and we will continue on to the next part. Okay, now we're going to start at the bottom of the foot. And again, you can begin your rounds any way you prefer, as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'll be doing my knot with a loop on the end, like I was making a chain. Insert your hook, grab your yarn, pull up, and chain 1. And remember, that does not count as a stitch. That just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, going over top of the tail, we're going to do 6 single crochets into the loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then pull that tail if you need to close up that hole. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one, and for row 2 we are going to do 6 increases, so that's 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around for a total of 12. So increase 1 and 2 in the same stitch, increase again, 3 and 4 in the same stitch, increase, 5 and 6, increase, 7 and 8, increase, 9 and 10, and our last increase, 11 and 12. Row 3, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. So 1 single crochet for 1, 1 increase for 2 and 3, and repeat that around. 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, and our last increase, 17 and 18. Our next row, we're going to be going in the back loop. So if you've never done that before, generally when you're crocheting, you go underneath those 2 V's of the stitch. So for the back loops, we are going to be going in between the V's and then just grabbing that back loop. And that will leave the front loops here, and it'll make our foot kind of go this way and have a flat bottom. So for row 4, in the back loops, we are going to do 18 single crochets all the way around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Row 5, we are just going to do 18 single crochets all the way around, and make sure you're going in that first stitch and not skipping it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Row 6, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 12. So 1 single crochet for 1, 1 decrease for 2, and repeat that around. 3, decrease for 4, 5, decrease for 6, 7, decrease for 8, 9, decrease for 10, 11, and then our last decrease, we're going to change color. So you're going to go in, come out, in, come out. Leave those 3 loops on your hook. We can cut this color off now. Make sure you leave enough for tying. And you're going to grab your new color, tie that to your old color, nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it, 2 or 3 times. And you're going to pull that new color through those 3 loops to finish off that last decrease, the last row. Row 7, we are going to do 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 8, we're going to go in the back loops again. So remember, we're going to be going down in between the V. And we're going to be doing 12 single crochets in the back loops. So down through the V. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And we're going to come back later, and these front loops is what we're going to use to do the ruffles on the feet. So make sure that you have all 12 of your front loops showing. Row 9, we are going to do 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 10, 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 11, 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 12, 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 13, 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, we're finished our legs, but we are going to do two different things for each leg. So if you are just finished your first leg, you are going to slip stitch into this next stitch, And then you're going to tie this off and leave yourself a long enough tail so that when we come back and after joining the legs, we can close the little hole that's left in between. So it's going to look like this. And then if you are on your second leg, you're just going to stop right there on your last stitch of the row, because we're going to use this string to continue on and join the two legs together. So if you have just finished your first leg, I will be putting a screenshot with a timestamp in the next frame so you can go back and do your second leg. And if you're done your second leg, just keep on watching and we'll continue on to the next part. All right, I'm going to take my stitch marker out of my first leg. And I'm going to grab my second leg that has our working yarn that's still attached. And I want to grab my first leg and I want to go just under that slip knot or slip stitch that we made there. And that's going to be where our first stitch goes. And we're going to do 12 single crochets around this first leg. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And don't worry about what this looks like here. We're going to use this string later to close that up. Now we want to go and find our next stitch on our second leg. Get that out of the way. So here, right here is our last stitch. So we're going to go in that stitch right beside it, in front of it, and that's where we're going to start our next side of the row, and we're going to do 12 single crochets into the second leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it should look like this now. I'm going to put my stitch marker back in for our next row. Row 15, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around, and make sure you're starting in that next stitch. Sometimes it's a little tighter and it's hard to tell where it is, so make sure you're right there. That's our last stitch. Our next stitch goes in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. And if for some reason you don't have 24 and you messed up a little bit on the row beneath, just adjust it here Unless you have a big gaping hole here that's noticeable, nobody will know but you. So do a decrease or an increase. Just make sure you have 24 stitches at the end of this row. Row 16, we are going to start off by doing 5 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we are going to do 3 increases. So 1 increase, 2 increases, 3 increases. Now we're going to do 8 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we are going to do 3 increases. 1 increase, 2 increases, 3 increases. And then we should have 5 single crochets left to finish off the row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that is a total of 30 stitches. Row 17, we are going to do 30 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Row 18, 30 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Row 19, 30 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Row 20, 30 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Row 21, we are going to do 30 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Row 22, 30 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Row 23, 30 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. All right, we're going to be starting our decreased rows. If you need to start stuffing as you go, you'll want to do that now, but I'm going to recommend waiting or just stuffing the feet, because I'm going to go all the way to the neck before I stuff mine, and that will make it a lot easier to do these ruffles. So it'll just be a little harder getting between the legs here if you start stuffing now. But you do whatever you feel is easiest for you. So for row 24, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. So 1, 2, 3, and a decrease for 4. And repeat that around. 5, 6, 7, and a decrease for 8, 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, 15, and a decrease for 16, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, and a decrease for 24. Row 25, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 26, 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 27, 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 28, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. So 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, and then a decrease for 3 stitches. And repeat that around. 4, 5, and a decrease for 6, 7, 8, decrease for 9, 10, 11, decrease for 12, 13, 14, decrease for 15, 16, 17, and our last decrease for 18. Okay, we're going to add the arms next, so grab those and get those ready. And I'm going to switch my camera view here, so hopefully we can see this a little better. Okay. Row 29, we are going to start off by doing 5 single crochets across. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we are going to pick up one of our arms. It doesn't matter which one, because they're all the same. And you want to make sure that your strings are facing the front. So where our stitch marker is the back. So this is the front. So we want our strings facing the front. And we're going to go into that first decrease. And then we're going to go into the next stitch of the body. And we're going to do 3 single crochets across. So 1 into the arm, into the next stitch of the body. That's 2 into the arm, into the next stitch of the body. That's 3. And now we're going to do 6 single crochets across, and make sure you're over in the next stitch because it's really easy to want to go into that same stitch you were just in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now you're going to grab your second arm, and again, this is the back, this is the front. You want to make sure your string is facing the front. So if you did the other one right, they'll both be on the same sides. And you're going to do 3 single crochets through the arm and through the body. So into the arm, into the next stitch of the body. That's 1. Into the arm, into the next stitch of the body. That's 2. Into the arm, and into the next stitch of the body. And you should have 1 single crochet left, but we're also changing color. So we're going to go in, grab our yarn, pull up, and leave those 2 loops on the hook. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to be stuffing and doing a bunch of stuff. So I'm going to actually finish that, and then we'll change our color after. So I'm just doing this to hold that stitch in place. All right, now that we have a fresh end on our yellow, we're going to do our little ruffles first. So what you want to do is you want to be sure you're making it upside down and on the back side. So where our stitch marker's been and where our stitches end, that will be our back side. And you can attach your yarn any way you prefer. I will be making a knot with a loop on the end, but make sure you leave a little bit of a tail to start so that you can tie this end on the inside. And what we're going to do is in the back center somewhere, you're going to find those front loops that you made. I'm just going to go right in the center. Attach my yarn. Whoop. For some reason my left hand doesn't want to work. There we go. Attach my yarn. Try and leave the knot on the bottom side if you can. And then you're just going to chain 1. And that's not going to count as a stitch. That's just to attach our yarn there. And now we're going to do 4 half double crochets in every front loop all the way around. And for a half double crochet, you yarn over. We're going to go in that same stitch, grab our yarn, pull up. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. Grab your yarn and go through all 3 loops. So one more time, yarn over in that same stitch, grab your yarn and pull up. Grab your yarn and go through the 3 loops on your hook. So that's 2, 3, and 4. And you'll just do that all the way around. 4 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. 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 4 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 half double crochets, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, oops, 4 half double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm on my last one right there. 4 half double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then once you're at the end, we're just going to slip stitch into that first V of our first half double crochet. And we'll tie that off, leave a little bit of a tail so that you can weave that in and hide it inside. So I'm just going to grab my darning needle. So you want to grab the end you just finished on at the edge of the ruffle there. And we're just going to thread that end on. And what we want to do now is we want to weave down up to where our knot is, where we attached our yarn. So I'm just going to go down into the V where I ended, catch a couple of these, the back side of these loops. I want to pull it so my knot goes down inside, but I don't want to squish down my ruffle, so I'm going to re-pull that out a little bit. Then I'm going to tie my 2 ends. Make sure you're not squishing that ruffle down as you're doing it. So tie light and then get a little tighter as you go. Oh, that was a weird way to tie a knot, but okay. Then we're going to tie, we're going to thread our other end on, and then we're just going to hide them out into the foot somewhere, or maybe even just straight across. So we're yellow to yellow. Because this isn't stuffed yet, I'm not going to pull it too hard because I don't want that end to be too short and then come out. So I'm just going to cut it about like this, and then I can always tuck it in later. But I'm sure when we stuff it, it will kind of go in. Okay, I'm going to let you do the other side of the leg on your own, but if you need to watch again, I'll put a little timestamp up here so you can go back to where we started this one. And if you're done both sides, we'll add some stuffing now. So what we want to do is get a nice little bunch down into the foot. And keep in mind where your last stitch is so you don't pull that out. And you want to have your foot on the firmer side, but on the flat on the bottom. So I'm just going to kind of hold the foot flat here, and then I'm just going to kind of tuck my stuffing to the sides a little bit. And I'm going to do a little bit in one foot and then a little bit in the other foot so they kind of stay the same. Oh, this stuffing's so hard to get down. Okay, so both my feet are about the same. Oh, that one's not quite as thick, as hard. The stuffing there, it's just not in the bottom. There we go. Then start going up the legs. And be careful when you're doing the legs. You don't want to stretch the stitches too much. Oh my goodness, this stuffing is bad. It's like I'm not pushing anything down. There we go. So when they're about the same, you'll start stuffing up the body. And remember, we did those 3 increases on each side. That's so we can have some little hips there. So if you want to kind of push those out a little as you're going and emphasize those. And I think that's about as far as I'm going to go. Just like that. And while we're down here, let's close up that little hole in between the legs. So we're going to grab that tail that we left when we did our first leg. Thread that on. And what we're going to do is we're just going to weave back and forth, catching a little bit of a stitch on each side. So I go across first. And then I'm just going to keep going across. I'm going to catch a few. Sometimes you have to catch a piece of a stitch. Have a look. If you can still see stuffing, go the other way. I'm still going to go the other way because I have 2 holes I've kind of stretched here. And that'll also put me on the back side to tie my knot. So I'm just going back and forth again, catching a few stitches and pulling them over. Just make sure you're not making a hole on the other side of where you've pulled your stitch. All right, and that's good enough for me. So I'm going to tie a knot right close to where I just came out. And then hide that end inside as close to where you tied the knot as you can. Go out the back, I guess. Okay, so you should have both ruffles on, your little hole closed and stuffed as far up as you've decided. Now we got to get our hook back in to do this color change. So if you can, you're just going to slide that out and you can put your hook into those 2 loops that are left, but I'm just going to redo that stitch. So I'm going to pull it out all the way. I'm going to put my hook back in, my second last stitch, and then I'm going to just do my 1 single crochet, and then that way it's nice and tight and ready for the color change. So you'll have your 2 loops on your hook, your cut end of yellow, and then you're going to grab your head color. And then we're going to tie our new color onto our old color, nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it, 2 or 3 times. don't think I've ever done this with it stuffed like this. Okay. Hide that end in. And then you're going to pull that new color through those last 2 loops of your previous row. All right, so now for row 30, we are going to do 18 single crochets all the way around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. Row 31, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that around for a total of 24. So 1, 2, increase, 3 and 4. And repeat that around. 5, 6, increase, 7 and 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, increase, 15 and 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, and an increase, 23 and 24. Row 32, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. So 1, 2, 3, increase, 4 and 5, and repeat that around. 6, 7, 8, increase, 9 and 10, 11, 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, 23, increase, 24 and 25, 26, 27, 28, increase, 29 and 30. Row 33. We are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 36. 1, 2, 3, 4, and an increase, 5 and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, 15, whoop, still 15, 16, and an increase, 17 and 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, increase, 23 and 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, increase, 29 and 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and an increase, 35 and 36. Row 34, we are going to do 5 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 42. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and an increase, 6 and 7. And repeat that around. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, increase, 13 and 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, increase, 20 and 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, increase, 27 and 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, increase, 34 and 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, increase, 41 and 42. Row 35, we are going to do 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, What's going on with this yarn? 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 36, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 37, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 38, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 39, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 40, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 41, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 42, 5 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 36. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a decrease for 6. And repeat that around. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and a decrease for 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and a decrease for 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and a decrease for 30. Let's see. So I'm still on decrease for 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and a decrease for 36. Row 43, 4 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a decrease for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and a decrease for 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and a decrease for 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and a decrease for 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and a decrease for 30. Okay, we're going to do a couple things now, starting with adding the eyes. So grab those and get those ready. All right, so first thing we want to do, make sure you're on the front of your little man. We want to flatten out the head so that we can find the center. And technically the eyes go between rows 39 and 40, but because we're only going right here, we're just going to count down 4 rows. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just under that 4th row, I'm just going to kind of see if I'm centered here. So I'm going to use these stitches here just on top of my arm knots. Just come in. So that's about my center. I'd say that's pretty close. And I'm going to make sure I'm going right in a stitch. I'm not in a hole. So I'll have a stitch and then a hole on each side of my pin. And we are going to count 4 holes over from our pin. So that hole right beside our pin is 1, 2, 3, 4, and in that 4th hole, and the same thing on the other side. The hole right beside our pin is 1, 2, 3, 4, and in that 4th hole. And just do a quick double check that you centered them okay, and I just they come right up the edges to my arm, so I think we're good. And then if you're happy with them, put your backs on. Ooh, that one just about fell out. If you need to, you can add a little bit of stuffing here. I'm just going to add a little bit more to my body, but I'm not going to fully stuff the head until I get to about 18 stitches around. I just want to give him a little bit more in his body because I didn't fully stuff that earlier. Try not to stretch the neck. You want that neck to stay nice and narrow there. So I've just got stuff to here. And when you do stuff your head, if you're doing that before me, I'm not stuffing in the neck. And then I'm going to put my head stuffing, just butt it up right against that, and that keeps our neck from stretching. All right, let's get our hook back in now. And for row 44, we're going to do 30 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Row 45, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. 1, 2, 3, and a decrease for 4. And repeat that around. 5, 6, 7, and a decrease for 8, 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, 15, and a decrease for 16, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, and a decrease for 24. Row 46, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 47, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. So 1, 2, and a decrease for 3. And repeat that around. 4, 5, and a decrease for 6, 7, 8, and a decrease for 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, and a decrease for 15, 16, 17, and a decrease for 18. All right, now if you haven't stuffed your head, let's get putting some stuffing in there before our hole gets too small on us. Okay, so we are just going to be stuffing that down up to the neck now. Remember not to push it into the neck. So I'm just butting it up to the neck, and I'm kind of pushing it out a bit at the sides with my finger. We want that fairly firm because we are going to do a little bit of shaping, especially down like at the bottom of the face. Now, once you get it mostly full, one of the tricks I do is I stick my fingers down in between the center like this. I just kind of spread that stuffing out a bit, and then when I do my next stitches here, I kind of have a bit of a hole here that I can add my stuffing to as I get further along. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. Get our hook back in. Oops. Let's see if I can do this in the camera now. Should be okay. All right, so for row 48, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 12. So 1 single crochet for 1 decrease for 2, single crochet for 3, decrease for 4, single crochet for 5, decrease for 6, single crochet for 7, decrease for 8, single crochet for 9, decrease for 10, single crochet for 11, and decrease for 12. Add a little bit of stuffing in there if you need to. And then for row 49, we are just going to do 6 decreases. So 1 decrease, 2 decreases, 3 decreases, 4 decreases, 5 decreases, and 6 decreases. And then you're going to slip stitch into the next stitch and tie off. And leave yourself a bit of a tail for closing up. You may have to add a little bit more stuffing. Just be gentle that you're not pulling these stitches any more than you need to. I just want to make sure that the top is not, like if you push it down, there's not a hole there. You want it to be nice and firm all the way around. That should be okay. Don't forget, we're going to be shaping it, so for now you just want it to be nice and round. All right, now you're going to grab your darning needle, and I guess we could take this stitch marker out too. Let's do that. Thread on your end tail. And all you're going to do is weave in and out of these top loops of your last row. And then one more here. And then when you're all the way around, you're just going to pull that close. And if you are trying this in plush yarn, try doing half of your stitches, pull it, and then do the other half, and that will really help as far as if you have a yarn that breaks really easy. So we'll just tie that in a knot there now, and then just hide that tail out the back somewhere. Give it a cut. Okay, now we're going to deal with these little arm strings. So grab your darning needle, we'll thread those on. It does not matter which side you do first because they're done exactly the same way. And what you're going to do is you're going to come up where this knot is, where you tied off your arm, and you're going to go in the same stitch that you last attached your arm on. So this stitch right here. And usually I go up here, but go underneath and that will leave more room for the ruffle around the neck. So we're going to go in that hole right beside where our last stitch is, where we attach the arm. Come up through the center somewhere near the neck. Whoop, I think I got this around the arm. I do. Pull that through. Then you're going to go and take your other arm now. Thread that on. Same thing, right where your knot and your last stitch were. So I'm going to go right here. That's my last stitch. And remember, I didn't go up there because I have all the ruffles one row down. And then you're going to come out in the same stitch that your other yarn tail came out. Keep track of these strings now. We're going to give them one tie, and you want to remember that they go on which side. So just nice and slowly, and then we're going to wrap those around the neck so they're not crisscrossed. And this doesn't matter as much in this one because you won't notice it, but we're going to give it a bit of a pull to bring those arms in and forward. So when you're happy with where they are, we're just going to tie that couple of times to secure. And what that'll do is it will make it so your arms aren't kind of wiggly and loose. Thread those back on. Go in there. Grab a bunch of stuffing before you come out so you don't see a purple line through your little guy's clothes here. You'll see you can't tell where that thread is. So pull that out. Doesn't want to come. There we go. Trim off the extra. See, they're not loose and wiggly now because you pulled that knot inside to the neck. All right, now we're going to do the nose. So grab some red, or if you have a little scrap, use that. We're going to thread that on. Whoop, wrong one. And we're going to go 2 rows down from where we inserted the eyes. So 1, 2. And just kind of decide what your center stitch is. So that's going to be my center stitch right there. And I'm going to go over onto each side of the hole on both sides for my nose. So I'm just going to start a row or 2 down. I'm going to come up. So that was my center right there. I'm going to come up on one side. Bring most of your yarn through, leave a little bit for tying. And then I'm going to skip that center hole and go over to the next hole. And now I'm just going to go around a few times. So depending on how high you want your nose. Now this one does have a bit of a protruding nose, so I would do quite a few, maybe at least 6. I'm about to do my 4th one. That's pretty close. Might do one more. Let's see. That's 5, and then 6 will be coming back down. So when you're happy with how many you have, you're just going to come back out where you started. Don't pull this too tight because you want it to be kind of puffy. And then you're just going to tie that nice and light to start, and then a little tighter as you go. And then as soon as you can pull it so it's not sliding, that's enough knots. We'll thread those ends back on. And then we'll just hide those out the back somewhere. And again, make sure you don't pull this too tight. I like to watch it, and then as soon as I got most of it through, or the knot through, then I'll gently pull it by hand out the back. You may have a little hole here, and if you do, just kind of push your stitches around. And then we'll give that a trim, and I'm not pulling it. And if you have a little piece sticking out there, just take your needle beside and swoop it away. All right, now we're going to do the mouth. So again, grab yourself a fair-sized chunk of red to do the lips. We'll thread that on. I might just mark this one. Let's use green. So here is where we added our nose. We're going to go down 2 rows again. 1, 2, and you want to find a center hole. This is where your mouth is going to be going in. Mine aren't lining up great, but I'm going to use this one. So that's where my center stitches are going to go. And then the outside edges of my mouth are going to go 2 holes over. So 1, 2. 1, 2 from that center pin. And again, you're going to start down somewhere where you're not going in. You're going to come to one corner of the mouth. Pull most of your yarn through. And then you're going to go in that center stitch. You're going to wrap around and do the same thing. And then go back in the center stitch, and that's going to give you your top lip. So you've got 2 strands. Now you're going to come 1 row down in the center for your bottom lip, and you're going to come out in your other corner. And we're going to go the opposite way to make this second side of your lip over into the center and back out. We're going to wrap that around 2 times. I got way too much yarn here. Okay. Wrap it around again. Make sure you're coming in the same hole. So there's your 2 top lips. And then you're going to come down for the bottom of your lip. And then out where you started to tie. And again, you don't want to pull this too hard. You may have to fiddle with your string a little bit, just so they're even. You can go under your strings and just kind of wiggle them a bit, and that will help. And once you're happy with your mouth, we'll give them a little tie. I definitely have a lot of extra, but this is the same color as his hair, so we can use this extra string later to make his little hair strands. Whoop. So we're going to thread those back on. And then go in and out the back somewhere to hide that string. And again, I like to just kind of watch and make sure I'm not pulling it too hard. And then once it's through, I'm going to pull that end out gently. Fix that hole if you have one. My head's lopsided, but we'll fix that later. And then we'll just cut those ends gently without pulling. And then if you need to, we'll swoop that little piece of red away. Swoop. There we go. And then we'll try and give them some little teeth. If you have a better way to do the teeth, feel free to do it your way. Mine is just going to look like that. And I'm just using a piece of thread that I've separated out. So I have 4 strands of thread normally, and I'm just taking one piece and threading it out. So here's my little strand. If you have embroidery thread, use that. It will look a lot nicer. And again, you're going to start over somewhere over here, and we're going to come up through the center. So right in between. Leave some thread for tying. And we're just going to make 2 little V's. So I'm going to come down on this side and go in, and then come up underneath the top lip. See, that's why you don't want to use yarn if you have embroidery thread. Then I'm going to go back in that same hole. Come back up to the center to do my other tooth or fang or whatever you want to call it. Oh, I'm not doing a great job with this. Okay, so I'm going to come over to this side, go in the hole down at the bottom, and then come up underneath the lips again. So I'm basically making 2 V's, and they are definitely not perfect. So back into that same hole on the bottom, and then out where you started. Whoop. And you can kind of come back in and lift the white a little bit, and it'll help. But I see I've got them kind of crooked this time. And if you mess up, you can always take the whole piece out and start over, of course. I'm going to leave mine as it is since it's just for the tutorial. But I think I would change them if I was selling this or giving it to somebody. Do a little bit better job. Then again, we'll just put that out the back. And again, you're going to want to pull it gently so you don't pull those fines. Oh yeah, see, I've already pulled it. You can't see that one side of the tooth. I'll definitely be redoing this. What is going on there? Okay, so if that does happen, see how that's really pulled it tight here? Just come underneath that black string and gently pull it out so it's the same width as your other tooth. Okay, I'll be fiddling with that for days if I don't stop. And then of course sweep that little black piece away. Alright, so now we are going to shape the face, but before we do, I want to pin where we're going to go down on the bottom. So we're going to have where we come out to tie, and you want to be just above the yellow line into the white. If you can, find your center. Now I have one on each side of center, so I'm just going to pick one. So that's going to be my center. And then we're going to be coming over and under, so we want to skip one stitch and come here. This is the stitch we'll be coming out, and we want to do the same thing on the other side. So skip one stitch and then put your pin in the other stitch. Then if you have a scrap, or cut yourself a fair-sized piece of yarn that matches the color of your face, and you're going to go just at about a 45-degree angle from the eye. So I don't go in this stitch though, because it's going to pull over like this. If that's what it looks like for you, go into the stitch and come across. Actually, I might go in this one. Yeah, come across to the other side. So my string's going to be at a 45-degree angle from the center of my eye here. You want an equal amount on both sides. Whichever one you have threaded, you're going to go around one stitch into that hole in the center of the eye, and you're going to come out in this first pin on the outside. Am I there? Yep. Sorry, it's hard to keep in the camera here and move it all over the place. And now you're going to come over this stitch, down and out your center stitch. So over, in, and then out where your center pin is. And that way you have a stitch there to hold your yarn when you tighten it. Otherwise your little knot's going to come up, and whatever shaping you do isn't going to do a thing. Okay, let's do the other side now. So again, we're going to go around this stitch, so we're kind of in the center. We're going to come down to this outside pin where you marked. I can get in there. It's easier when the pins aren't in there. And again, we're going to go over this stitch and then under the next stitch and out where our center pin is and our other piece came out. Now you're going to push your eyes together and down and oops, we should put a knot in there first. Sorry guys. Knot first. Then we're going to kind of push our eyes down and together and then pull. Do it again. So you're kind of guiding it and then keeping it tight. Pull and push. Squeeze, I guess, and push down. And that's going to give him kind of that 3D kind of look around his cheeks. So when you're happy with it, tie it to secure it. thread those ends on, and then out the back somewhere, anywhere. I just try and always stay in the center back of wherever I'm going through. That mouth is a mess. All right, now we're going to do the eyebrows. So again, I'm just going to separate the ends of thread that I still have left. I've got 2 left, so I'm just going to separate those. Again, if you have embroidery thread, use that. And we're just going to, wherever you think you want to have them. So I'm going to go about 2 rows up from where I attached my eyes. So I attached them right here. 1, 2. And I'm just going to go kind of at the inside of the eye. So just up on the inside of the eye. Take about half your yarn through. And then just kind of see where you want them. So I'm going to make mine a little bit on the angry side. So I'm going to go up like this for both of them. So I'm going to go up 1 row and over 2 or 3 stitches. 1, 2, I think 3. Then you're going to come out the center for tying, and you really want to go down and dig in some stuffing before you come out, because this will show up. So that's what my eyebrow will look like. So now we got to do the same thing on the other side. Thread your needle on. And I went up 1, 2, 3, and just before you actually commit, just double check that they're about the same length, because they will probably be offset 1 stitch. Yeah, I think that's okay. Grab that bunch of stuffing and come out where you started. And if they're not even, you can give them a little bit of a pull. Careful if you're using yarn like I am, because it will break. And then if you're happy with it, give that a tie. And then thread them out the back somewhere. And again, you want to pull gently through. So I'm just watching. As soon as it's through, I'm going to gently pull it out. Doesn't want to come. There we go. We'll give those a light cut. If you need to, swoop that little bit of black away. And there we got his little face. All right, now we're going to do the ears. And again, you can start your round any way you prefer, as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'm going to be making my knot with the loop on the end, but make sure you leave yourself a little tail to start with for attaching. Okay. Insert your hook, grab your yarn, chain 1, and all we're going to do is 6 single crochets into that loop, but don't go over the tail this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you're just going to tie that off, leaving yourself again a little bit of a tail for attaching. Might as well do our second one right now too. So again, you can start any way you prefer as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. Make sure you leave yourself a tail. Insert your hook, grab your yarn, pull up and chain 1. And then you're just going to do your 6 single crochets into the loop, but don't go over top of your tail. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then tie off, leaving a tail on this side as well. All right, now we're going to do the ear placement, and I'm just going to grab a couple of pins. We're going to go right beside the eye, kind of in the center, and that first hole, we're going to count over 5 holes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in that 5th hole. Now we're going to do the other side, so the hole right beside the eye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in that 5th hole. And just kind of have a look, see if they're even to you. And if you're happy with them, we'll thread on our ear. Decide which side you want to be the front and which side you want to be the back, because you're going to want to switch when you do the other side. So I like the one where you can see the little V's. So you're going to thread the top string onto your needle. You're going to come right behind that pin, and you're going to go in that hole, around the stitch, and up where your pin is. Then you're going to go through that top stitch of your ear. Now you're going to come down 1 row and around the next stitch. You're going to go through the middle of the ear. You're going to come down 1 row and around that stitch. And then you're going to go through the stitch on the bottom of the ear. Pull that nice and tight. And then we're just going to tie our 2 tails together. Thread both ends on, and then come out the middle center of the head somewhere. So down beside the ear and then out the center of the head. And then we'll do the other ear. So again, make sure you have the same side facing you. Grab that top string of your ear. Thread that on. You're going to come behind the pin, around the stitch. Through the first stitch of the ear. Down a row, around the stitch, through the hole of the ear, down a row, around the stitch, and through the bottom stitch of the ear. And then again, you're going to tie that together. Thread both ends on. spot that your other ends came out, keeping track of what strings go to what ear. And then you're going to tie them one time. And just like we did the arms, wrap that around the head, flip him over. And now you're going to pull the ears together to kind of make his head a little narrower. Just give them a good pull till you're happy with where they are. And remember, they will relax a little bit since we're kind of tying them back here instead of straight across. Tie it again to secure them. And then we'll thread all these ends back on. Oh, did I get them all? Look at that. And then just thread them out the back of the head somewhere. Give them a cut. Oh, there, he's turned out to be kind of cute now. All right, we're going to do the vest now. Now, you want to do it in black, but I just don't think I can get away with doing black on video, so I'm going to use purple. And we're going to start with a chain, so you can start yours however you prefer to make your own chain. I'll be making my knot with a loop on the end, but make sure you leave yourself a little bit of a tail for weaving in or going over. Insert your hook, and we are going to chain 25. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Now starting in the second chain from the hook, so not the one on your hook, not this one is the first one, this one is the second one. We're going to do 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3. And now we're going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now we're going to skip 6 chains. So this is our last stitch right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then go into that 7th one. And we're going to do 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And as you're going along, make sure your chain is not twisting on you. Now we're going to chain 6 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and skip 6. So this is the last stitch we are in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and go into that 7th one. And we are going to do 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and that should get you right to the last chain. So it's going to look like this. All right, now we're going to turn our work to the other side. And we're going to start by going into this first hole right here in the next stitch. And we are going to do 3 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3. And now we're going to do 6 single crochets around this chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now we're going to do 6 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we're going to do 6 single crochets around the chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now we're going to do 3 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3. So it's going to look like this now. Now we're going to turn it again. And in this first stitch right here, we're going to do 1 increase. So that's 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Then we're going to do 10 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and now we're going to do 2 increases. So 1 increase, 2 increases, and then we are going to do 10 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then we're going to do an increase in this last stitch. So 1 and 2 in the same stitch. So now it's going to look like this. Now we're going to turn our work again. And starting in that first stitch, we are going to do an increase. So 1 and 2 in the same stitch. And then we're going to do 26 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and then an increase in that last stitch. 1 and 2 in the same stitch. and it's going to look like this. And now we're going to tie that off. Leave a little bit of a tail to weave in or go over. And then we're going to attach the outside color. So however you like to attach, I again will be doing my knot with the loop on the end. Leaving a little bit of a tail to weave in or go over. And then you're going to decide which side you want showing on the outside. Doesn't really matter. I think I'm going to pick this side. And somewhere in the middle on the bottom, so these are the arms, this is the top, this is the bottom. I'm going to flip it upside down. And then somewhere in the center of the bottom, we're going to attach our yarn. And just chain one. And that doesn't count as a stitch, that's just attaching our yarn to the stitch. And we're just going to single crochet all the way around. So starting in that same stitch, and you'll go in every stitch all the way across the bottom. I'm not going to count because when we go up the sides we might all have a different number. We're getting to the first corner here, and usually I put 3 stitches in the corner, but this time for some reason I needed 4, or it just seemed like it wanted to curl, so I'm going to put 4 in this corner stitch, and then you're just going to put single crochets up the side wherever you feel they look like they belong. You might have 2 in one stitch, you might skip a row. So like I put 2 right there. I might just do 2 in every one. So just kind of between the rows. And then I'm already at my top corner. I'm going over my tail. And remember I put 4 down here, so I'm going to put 4 in the top corner. You really won't even see this. And then a stitch in every chain across, and I'm going over top of my tail, remember. You don't have to go in these stitches, you could go around. But I'm just doing it in case you've never had to go in the chains like this before. While I'm doing this part, I'm going to just remind you all that if you ever want to share something you've made with me, I do have a Facebook craft page. It's I think the link in every video at the very top if you hit more in the description. It's called Art Designs and Crafts. You can just go in there and find a post and put a comment or a photo there. Okay, I'm almost to the corner on this side. Remember I did 4, so if you did 4, you're going to do 4 in that corner. And then I also did 2 in every stitch down. And then 4 in the next corner. And I've got another tail I've got to go over. that's only 3. And then just single crochet across the bottom in every stitch. See, I forgot to go over that tail when I started, so I'll have to weave that one in. And then when you get to the other end where you started, you're just going to go under that first V of your first stitch and slip stitch. Oh, I guess I have to weave this end in anyway, won't I? Excuse me. So that's what it's going to look like. I'm going to cut this one tail I went over. Cut that out of the way. Get my needle out. Whoops. And since I have both ends here, I might as well put both ends on my needle and do them both at the same time. And I'm just going to go back and forth on that one row we just did a couple of times. You can go as many times as you want, but I'm just going to do that for the video. Oh, come on. And then cut those off. Let's double check that it fits here. Looks good. So it should look something like that, only yours will be black probably. All right, now we're going to start with the bottom ruffle, and you can start any way you prefer. We're going to be chaining, but do leave yourself a little bit of a tail to start. I'll be doing my knot with the loop on the end. Insert my hook, and we're going to chain 22. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Now the next row we're going to be going in the 3rd chain from the hook because we're going to be doing double crochets, so not the one on your hook. Here's your first one, your second one, and your third one. And for a double crochet, you're going to yarn over. You're going to go into that 3rd chain, grab your yarn, pull up, grab your yarn, go through the first 2 loops, grab your yarn, and go through the last 2 loops. So that's one double crochet, and we're going to be doing 20 double crochet increases. So we need to put another one in that same stitch, yarn over to that same stitch, grab your yarn, pull up, go through the first 2 loops, go through the last 2 loops. So double crochet increase, 1, 2, double crochet increase, 1 and 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 2, increase, 1 and 2, increase, 1 and 2, and make sure your chain isn't twisting as you're going. Increase, up, 1 and 2, increase, 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 1 and 2, and our last one, increase, 1 and 2, and we should have 40, but if you didn't quite get that right, it's not going to matter. The longer the better, actually. Okay, and then for row 2, we're going to chain 1, we're going to turn our work, and we're going to do 40 single crochets across, or whatever number you ended up with here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, up, 39, and I think I might have missed one, I'm not sure. I'm going to do 40 though still. 40, and then tie that off. Again, leave yourself a bit of a tail. There's going to be a mess at the very end when we put these together. And you'll have the option of leaving them like this and tying them together, or sewing them together if you want. So just so you have options, we'll deal with all the tails at the very end. guess since we have the white out, let's do the top ruffle now. And again, leave yourself a bit of a tail. We're going to be chaining, so you can start any way you prefer. I'll be doing my knot with the loop on the end. Insert your hook, and we are going to chain 21. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Now starting in the second chain from the hook, so not the one on your hook. There's your first one, there's your second one. We're going to do 3 single crochets in each stitch all the way down. So 1, 2, 3, and again make sure your chain isn't twisting on you. So into the next stitch, 1, 2, 3, into the next stitch, 1, 2, 3, into the next stitch, 1, 2, 3, next stitch, 1, oopsie, 2, 3, into the next stitch, 1, 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 2, 3, into the next stitch, excuse me, 1, 2, 3, into the next stitch, 1, 2, 3, into the next stitch, 1, 2, 3, and then that last stitch, 1, 2, 3, and then you can tie off. I'm going to slip stitch and tie off, I think, just so those knots will be together. Leave a little bit of a tail when you tie off. So this will end up being round and straight, but I don't actually remember it being that. All right, now we're going to do the middle ruffle, and you're going to want to leave yourself a little bit of a tail. You can start any way you prefer. We're going to be chaining, So I'm just going to be doing my knot with the loop on the end. Insert your hook, grab your yarn, and we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then in the second chain from the hook, so right here, we're going to do 3 single crochets across. 1, 2, and in our third one we're going to change color. So grab your yarn, pull up, leave those 2 loops on your hook, and don't cut your yarn because we're just going to be switching back and forth. Grab your green, and we're going to tie that nice and close to the hook as we can, 2 or 3 times. And then we're going to grab that yarn, pull it through to finish off that last stitch of the row. And instead of going row 1, 2, and then green 1, 2, I'm going to do purple as a row, green as a row, even though it's kind of going to be 2 rows. Okay, so for green, chain 1, turn, and we're going to do 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, chain 1, turn, and 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3. And on that third one we'll be changing color, so drop the green, pick up the purple, pull that through, finish off that stitch. Then we're going to chain 1, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, turn, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to change our color on that third one. So drop our purple, pick up our green, pull that through, chain 1, turn, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, turn, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, and on our third one we'll change color. So drop the green, grab the purple, chain 1, turn, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, turn, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3. Whoops, sorry guys, we're changing color on that third one, so I just took that out, left my 2 loops on the hook, grab our green, pull that through, chain 1, turn, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, turn, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, and on our third one we're going to change color. All right, and we're just going to continue doing that until we have 21 stripes. So chain 1, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, turn, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, and change color on our third. Chain 1, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, turn, 1, 2, and change color on our third. Chain 1, turn, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, turn, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, and change color on our third. Chain 1, turn, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, turn, 1, 2, and change color on our third. Chain 1, turn, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, turn, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, and change color on our third. Chain 1, turn, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, turn, and 3 single crochets, 1, 2, and change color on our third. I'm just going to count these here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I got a ways to go yet. Chain 1, turn, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, turn, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, change color on our third one, chain 1, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, turn, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, and on our third one, change color, chain 1, turn, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, and change color on our third. Chain 1, turn, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, turn, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, and change color on our third. Chain 1, turn, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, turn, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, and on the third we'll change color, but I just want to double check my stripes here first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So I'll change my color. Change 1, turn, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, turn, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, change color on our third one, chain 1, turn, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, turn, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, and change color on that third one. Chain 1, turn, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, turn, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, and change color on our third. This might be our last one. Let's just change color and then we'll count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So we're on our 21st color change. Chain 1, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, and 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, and then we can tie off. If you want, you can just double check that it'll go around your neck, but the way we're doing it, I'm going to be tying or stitching them all together and then using the ends to cinch them up around the neck, so you should be okay either way. So leave yourself a tail. We'll cut that off. We also forgot to tie off this green, so let's just clip that off, and I'm just going to tie it with my darning needle. It just dropped, I think. I'll put a little note when we're at the last green to tie it, but I'm just going to put a knot in it and then weave it in. I'm just going to do it one time there and cut it off. All right, and now comes the fun part, but not the fun part. So what we're going to do is all 3 of these pieces are going to go together, and we're going to single crochet across them. So there's 20 rows in our bottom ruffle. There's 20 colors in our middle ruffle, and there is 20 stitches in our top ruffle. And what we're going to have to do is line them all up, and it's going to be a real mess. I'm not probably going to be able to show you what I'm doing very well because everything's going to be in the way. But we're going to go on every stitch through all 3 and single crochet across. So I'm going to start by getting my, I guess let's call it our joining thread. Leave a tail because we're going to use this tail for tying it together. Let's make a little loop or a knot, slip stitch, however you want to start. And we are going to go through the top ruffle, so the smallest or shortest one. We're going to go through, make sure you decide which side you want up. I want this side on the bottom where you can see all those color changes. So then we're going to go through the first stitch of the purple, and then we're going to go through the first stitch of the bottom ruffle and make sure you have it the way you want it. So I want to be able to see the right side of my single crochets. Where is my first stitch? Okay, so now you've got all three on your hook. You're going to put your hook through your joining thread, come through all three of those, and then do a chain. Then you're going to do a single crochet through all that same stitch. So yeah, it is going to be a mess, guys. But once you're done it's only 20 single crochets, and they actually look quite nice done together. I tried doing them so many ways and it was so bulky. Okay, now I'm going to go in my second stitch of my top ruffle, the green of my middle ruffle, and the next stitch in my bottom ruffle, and do a single crochet. Same thing, next stitch of my top ruffle, purple of my, and I'm not worrying if it's the first or the second row of my middle row, and next stitch, wait a second, next stitch of my bottom row, and a single crochet. So we're just gonna do that all the way across. I'm not gonna bother explaining it every time I go through. And we're all gonna be going at a different speed. So I'm probably even gonna speed this up. So just be prepared. I might speed it up right here and let you guys finish this part on your own. And then when I get to the last couple single crochets, I'll slow it back down. Okay, I'm getting to the end here. I pretty much matched up all the way, except I'm one short on the small ruffle, so I might not be. It could be my slip stitch here. So this should be my last stitch, my last in the purple, and my last in the white. And I'm sorry, I don't remember it being this tricky when I did it, but maybe it's because I did so many times that this ended up being the easiest way. So it'll look like this now. It's all one piece. You're going to tie off, leave yourself a good long tail. Now these are the two ends that you want to keep out for tying, and then if you want to, you can tie, well, you'll have to, I guess. You're going to have to weave in all of these ends, and I'm not going to do that on camera. Oh, doesn't that look nice? Kind of. Anyway, another project idea maybe. So we'll just weave all these ends in. Make sure you don't weave the two ends of the single crochet row you just did, and then I will meet you back here and we'll tie it on and deal with the hair. Okay, you should have everything tied to or weaved in, just your two ends from your last row you just did. And then you're going to take your little man. We're just going to wrap that around his neck. And then you could just tie it on here. Or if you wanted to, you could stitch up all these little pieces together. But I'm just taking the easy way out. And I'm just going to tie it into a bow so that if I want to take it off or change it or do something different, I can. Of course, you maybe don't want to leave the ends this long, but for the tutorial, I'm okay doing that. Oh, I guess my little camera's not high enough. These are turning out pretty cute. Oh, I forgot about the pom-poms. So I did the pom-poms when I did the newer version of Pennywise. So I'm going to throw that little section in right now on this video. So it's going to be pre-recorded video, and you're going to see the other version, and I'm going to be tying it on to the other version. But just know that you're still in the right video, nothing weird happened, and then we'll switch on to doing his hair. Now, if you can't find any red pom-poms, I'm going to quickly show you how I made mine. I'm going to do orange because the next guy, I actually need the orange ones. I don't need the red ones. I can use the ones I have. So all I'm going to do is wrap my yarn around 2 fingers about 20 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And we're going to take those ends, try and keep them even. It's really tricky. This tiny little amount. We're going to be tying around the center of them. So I already have a piece cut to tie around there. So put it in the center. If you have someone to help you, this will be a lot easier because they can put their finger down in the middle, just like when you're tying a bow for a present. So try and make sure it's as close to the center as you can get it, as tight as you can get it, and then tie it a few times just to secure that. Now make sure as we're going along that you keep a good hold on the 2 tying strings, because you don't want to accidentally cut those. So we're going to take our scissors and we're just going to cut all those loops on each side. Don't worry if you miss one, we're probably going to cut it off anyways when we try and make this smaller. Alright, so this is what it's going to start as. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get I put my finger on the knot and I try and feel with my thumb. And this is how I'm trying not to cut that string that I just tied with, because this is going to get really tiny. And I'm just using my thumb curve as a guide. And I'm just going to go a little past, turn, try and keep that feel of that knot in the center. Just keep going around. Ooh, that felt like I got a little small there. Once you feel like you kind of got it all the way around, just going to kind of puff it out a bit. And then you're going to do the same thing this way. So my string's down here. Keep a watch on where that is. Just, whoops, I took a lot there. Turn that around. I feel like I'm getting risky here as to how far I'm cutting. All right, let's have a look. I mean, it's pretty good considering how tiny we're making it. I just might fiddle a bit with the ends. So, oh, sorry, that was so far away. I didn't even look in the camera. And then when you go to tie it on, you're just going to put your needle on one side, in a hole on one side of the stitch, a hole on the other side of the stitch, come up in the middle. Oh, I'll just show you, it's easier. So one end, once you've figured out where your center is, will come down and you're going to go over a stitch. This is where you'll tie it. Put your other end on. So you want to make sure you come over at least 1 stitch from where you went in to begin with. I'm going to go 2 and then out through the center. As long as you don't see this where I'm about to pull it through, it'll be okay. So it's going to look like this. And then when you pull that and tie it on, you won't see that. But you don't go there, so you have to wait your turn. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly show you how I add the hair. And my hair length is generally good enough to just use my hand as a guide. But if you're not sure, you can take your little hair, fold it in half, and then just put it towards your guy and then see if that's long enough. If you want it longer, you'll just find something that is that length. If you want it shorter, you'll just find something that is a shorter length to wrap around. Okay, so we're just going to wrap our yarn around our hand, and I think I easily did over 100, but I did about 40 or 50 at a time, and then I just made more. So once you have your strands wrapped around, you're going to have an end here to cut, and then you're going to cut down the center, and then there's your little hair strands. And then I will just show you how I line up the outside row of the hair. So I'm just going to line it up evenly across the top starting loop. I'm going to put a pin in the very top of his head. Then I'm going to come down to this side, and just above his ear, I'm going to put my other pin. And then just above his ear on the other side. Make sure that's fairly straight. And you may have to put 2 or 3 stitches on one side of the row because these stitches don't line up exactly. And then you're just going to grab a piece of your hair. Insert your hook into one of your rows. So you're going to go under a stitch and up, fold your yarn in half, put it on your hook. You're going to pull your hook through that stitch about halfway. Double check that your ends are fairly even. And you're going to grab those ends, pull it through that loop you made, and then pull it tight. And you can leave them all like this, but if you want to do something a little different, you can also untwist these threads, and then you'll take all the individual threads out, separate them, and I actually found I liked it this way when he was just all twisty. And then if you want to go one step further, you can take a little brush. So I usually use this little pet brush, but you can also buy these. They're just in the hardware department, or sorry, the paint department in the hardware store. I think they're for scraping paint. And then you'll just brush those out. Obviously you'll have more than one. And what I did was little sections. I did 1 or 2 rows at a time. And then it'll be like this. And I'll just quickly show you my other guy here. So here's my row all the way around from ear to ear across the top. And then here's what the back looks like. So from this ear over, and then I did have to put a few extra stitches just so they lined up this way in the front. And then as far as shaping the hair, it's gonna be quite, I mean, I right now even can redo it, and I made this guy a month ago. So just kind of pull it out, and then I pushed it down on the top. Okay, and there we go. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only does that help me out, but you'll also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. I'd also like to say thank you to everyone who has been so kind to have hit the thanks button and sent me such generous donations. You will now be listed at the end of all my next videos as my super thanks friends. Take care, be safe, and happy crocheting.